What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I am here with Anthony, Michelle, and Mike, and we are discussing the third episode of The Last of Us. And before we get into the episode, I did just want to make mention on the passing of Annie Wershing. She is an actress that is known for a lot of things, mainly 24, Star Trek Picard. I knew her from the Vampire Diaries as well, but she was also the original voice actress for Tess in the Last of Us video game. She passed away yesterday at age 45 to cancer, and we just wanted to send our condolences to her family, friends, and fans. Rest in peace, Miss Annie.
Way too young, man. Way too young.
That floored me because I remember hearing about her having cancer, and then I didn't hear anything else. And she's been acting, like I said, she's been in Star Trek Picard, and she was still doing some things. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe it went into remission, or maybe she's just doing well. So hearing about that was a little bit of a shock. So like I said, because we are discussing The Last of Us and she is one of the OGs, I did want to make mention of that and pay tribute to her. So rest in peace, Miss Wershing. Moving on into the episode. So I know we kept saying that we didn't know if we could take all the scary stuff. Like, we were like, I don't know if I can make it through all this. So the third episode kind of threw us for a curve. They were like, okay, we're going to take all the scary stuff out, and we're going to give you guys one of the possibly best fucking love stories you've ever seen on TV.
Yes.
Factual. For real.
So you take us from being scared and being horrified and being like anxious to falling in love with this couple and just watching them try to have a life in the midst of all this chaos.
Yeah, from psychological damage to emotional damage. I had to do it. I'm sorry.
I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming.
We almost went.
Thank you.
Several
I needed that
recordings without that.
I knew it was going to come at some point during this show. I mean, how can it not?
Oh my God, this was so draining, dude. Oh, I mean, it was so beautiful. It was like at first, like at first you're like, okay, he's just some kind of like doomsday prepper, like, okay, whatever. But then it's like he catches, then someone falls in one of his traps. He feeds him. He starts playing piano. Then they're kissing, and I'm like, wow. And
what did he say? He said, "I'm not a whore."
He's like, I'm not a whore.
But if I do this, I'm gonna stay some days.
For a few days. Yeah.
3
I'm
years.
I'm not a whore for lunch. Or something like that.
Right. But it's it was not what I expected. It's especially with the way that the episode started out, because you start out with Ellie and Joel in the aftermath of Tess's death, and they're still on the road trying to get to Bill and Frank's. And so when you see the first part of the episode, we do still get a little bit of the anxiousness, especially when Mike sent a text today. He was like, why the hell is she going into the hole? Why is she going into the fort?
Why?
Because she, just like Casey always says, she need a whooping.
I mean, it's just teenagers, kids. They're curious.
This is like I always bring up that scene in Candyman where the girl opens the door to the basement and she's like, nope, and closes the door.
No.
But young people, it's curious. They want to explore.
Young people during a zombie pandemic. Oh, there's curiosity and then there's stupidity.
I know, but no one's like Judith. So,
honestly,
they're growing in the, it's a teenager thing.
I kept expecting something to reach up and grab her and pull her down. I was just like, oh God.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I was like, oh, please just stop. And when she shot in the light, I expected like to be like on a lettuce head. I was like, oh God, please don't do that to me.
Yeah,
Do that to me.
because that thing started clicking. I was like, oh shit. Oh, but let me tell you, that little girl, that young woman, whatever you want to no, she's a little girl. If you're being
she's young.
childish.
Yeah, but think about it. She's never been outside.
I know. And that's the thing
She hasn't seen anything. She doesn't know anything. She hasn't been exposed to anything. So all of this is new to her. Like she's never been in the forest. Like this is
I know.
Never saw a plane.
You've been around an infected before. You've been around,
but not up close where they're not threatening. So now we're doing a science experiment.
But she also takes that whole teenager invincible thing to a whole other level because she can't be turned.
Right. So now I feel like as long as they're not coming at me, tearing me apart, I want to explore my environment.
She need a whooping.
She got chill.
Hey, you worked out for her. She found something that she really needed. So
I get that. But still, and you know what? I'm gonna say this too. It was so funny that happened that way, because basically what happens is when they go into this little store that Joel has been to before, he stashed some supplies there, and he can't remember where he stashed the supplies. That was the funny thing. And she was like, hey, maybe we can find some stuff. And he was like, this place has been picked clean. So when she goes down into the hole, she actually sees a box of tampons. And she was like, yes. And I was like, again, I like this show because you never see that kind of realistic stuff in a regular show. Like, she's 14, probably just coming into that stage of her life. In a zombie apocalypse or whatever, yes, you're gonna need those kinds of things. So the fact that she saw it, she was like, yes, I was like, oh,
that's a treasure. Yes.
Right.
I was thinking, you know, anyone who's played an open world video game like that knows that you explore, you find things that you need. So yeah, that was one, to me, it felt like one of those video game moments where
she was on a side quest.
Yeah, you were rewarded with exploring. So
well, I do feel like this was fan service because true fans who have played the game that I have heard has said stuff. Wait a minute, we need some time where they are exploring, because that's what I do most of the time, playing the game, trying to find things. And I felt like this was a part where they were trying to find things. I was like, oh, they kind of threw that in for them.
Yeah. And I'm sure in the game he had stashes that you could discover.
Right, you just had to find
it. And like that scene of him trying to look for it, like he didn't remember it was probably, again, a nod to the game where it's probably, you know, that there's a stash in here and you have to keep looking for it until you find it. So it was kind of cool.
Because I mean, I'm not a gamer, but I have played video games before, those types of video games. And sometimes you're just searching in the room, like, I know it's somewhere, but it's kind of like you trying to click something with a mouse. It keeps on that arrow, and only when you get to the part that you can actually click does it turn into a hand. And sometimes it takes a long time to find that one little spot. So yeah, that is kind of what it reminded me of. But so like I said at the beginning of the episode, you get them in this aftermath of Tess's death. And it's still, so this is something that we talked about when we were discussing The Walking Dead, the anthology series Tales of the Walking Dead. And one of the things that I remarked, I was like, this is supposed to be a zombie apocalypse and there's almost no one around. It's so weird to me. And it's still weird to me. Like, here they are, what did it say? 10 miles west of Boston. They're near a stream. They're in the forest. It's quiet. It's a beautiful day. And I just kept waiting for something to come around the corner, like something to be stuck in the water or something to just be wandering in the woods. And it's just so strange to me that they can walk for long periods of time and never encounter anything.
That's that Walking Dead thing in you. I mean, because didn't she ask that question? Like, how come we're not going to see him? He's like sort of rarely, because they've probably all gone to the city. Yeah. And when he first started, they started putting people in quarantine. So it wasn't like a lot of people out anymore.
Right.
You might get some random stragglers, but you know.
And if you're a virus seeking to spread, you're not going to stay in the wilderness with nobody around. I'm going to go where I can reach more people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if they also sort of operate on somewhat of a hive mind, they would tend to migrate towards each other anyway.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But like I said, and even going back editing the first 2 episodes that we did, I'm sitting here listening to like the terminology we're using and stuff, especially like for me, because I'm used to seeing zombies in one particular way. So it's like, even though I know that these things are not dead, I'm still calling them zombies in my mind. You know, I'm still referring to them as zombies, which I know they're not dead, but it's so ingrained in my brain, like certain things, that when I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is strange. It feels weird. But at the same time, it's a very refreshing take on a genre that we've seen so much of. And, you know, sometimes with genre shows and film, you kind of repeat the same things over and over. So the fact that this is doing something completely different, I like it, you know, and it's interesting because when you see the two of them interact with each other, like obviously there's still a little hostility there from Joel, because in a way he's blaming Ellie for what happened to Tess. And instead of Ellie kind of being this scared little kid, she's calling him out on it, not once, but twice in this episode. She was like, look, you made the decision to take me where they wanted me to go, because you needed a truck
both
battery.
of y'all, not just him, both of them, him and Tess. So she was like, you can't blame me for that because y'all came. Right. Y'all dragged me out. So it was not my fault.
She was like,
she has a point.
You were given a choice and you made a decision. Don't blame me for her death. Y'all are here because you wanted something. And it's interesting because you see there's like a little bit of, maybe not at this point, hostility between them, but they still don't really like each other at this
tension.
point.
Yeah, yes. It's tension.
There is tension. But there are moments when both of them let their guard down and they seem like they could be like, if I was a person who didn't know what the backstory was of these two, when they got into the house towards the end of the episode, I really would have thought they were father and daughter. You know, because there was just enough playfulness, just enough seriousness, and just enough regular conversation that I wouldn't have I wouldn't have looked at them and been like, oh, okay, yeah, they clearly don't like each other. Oh, this is clearly an antagonistic relationship. You don't see that. It's so many layers to their relationship, and even to her relationship to Tess, and even in some ways his relationship to Tess, what we saw in the first 2 episodes.
Yes.
But one of the things I do love about her, like you said, Anthony, the fact that she has never been out, you know, outside of the quarantine zone. So everything that she's seeing is like new to her. And I love her enthusiasm. When she saw the Mortal Kombat game,
she was excited.
That tickled me so much, because she was talking a mile a minute like she knew this game. Oh yeah, I know a friend who had this and blah blah blah. And there's a character named Alina and she does this and da 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 da. And I was like, that's a lot of knowledge for somebody who, like, they can't play
as sheltered as she is. Yeah. Like she actually knew Melina's fatality. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I guess.
And during that, well, first of all, how old was the friend she was talking about? That's number one. And number two, I was sort of like you, Hanako, at this point, because of what we know about zombies. Why y'all making so much damn noise?
Especially considering, you know, they say the clickers, they can't see, but they can hear.
Right.
Oh yeah, I was sitting here like, y'all are talking way too much. Even if it's not a lot of them, there's got to be a straggler or two somewhere. I mean, think about it. Like when we meet Frank in the episode, he was by himself and he just happened to stumble into a trap. But that could have been, you know,
yeah.
Y'all making too much noise.
Too much noise.
And then Ellie is going down into the basement and she's making noise. I mean, and I don't know why it took so long for the infected / you know, transitioning clicker to make its presence known, because she was making a lot of noise.
it was probably hibernating, and she just kind of woke it up. It probably took a minute to stir it up neurologically.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I know nothing about these things.
No, it probably heard them walking upstairs. I mean, it's like they can hear, so it probably heard them clumping around upstairs and him like shifting stuff around, looking for his stash that he forgot about 2 years ago. So it's like he probably did. He was probably awake and like, what the fuck? Come here, let me bite you.
But I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting because he's down there. Well, as far as we know, he's down there in that basement by himself. He's under a lot of bricks and cement blocks and everything because I guess the ceiling of the basement caved in. So I'm like, so how did he get infected?
He ate a Twinkie and he was down there getting something.
Yep. Could be. Yep.
And he didn't make it out. Or a donut, who knows? He ate something and was stuck down there. Like you realize it doesn't take that long if you eat something.
Imagine if he ate something that was nasty and he got infected. It's like he ate something. It was like he ate an old honey bun and he was like, oh man, it's spoiled. The next thing you know, he's like, click, 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 click. Like,
yeah, I'm doing like this because she's slicing open his forehead on the screen in the background and just seeing that little white stuff. It's just.
And I'm just so simple. He got infected in the wilderness. It depending on where it was, could have been his toe, his ankle. He walked for shelter, went down in the basement for security, and happened to turn there. And the roof fell on him.
I don't know. I kind of like.
And he's fresh. You know what? Y'all in this food.
I'm just saying. Because,
and he's fresh though. You need to look at him. He's not that old.
Fresh.
So he could be like a couple of years.
Yeah. But I mean, even when they're walking, when Ellie and Joel are on their way to Bill and Frank's to find Bill and Frank's, when she starts asking all the questions, about, so how did this start? Like she was like, so it only took one day. How did that happen? Like if this is passed on through a bite, who bit the first person? I mean, we literally had this conversation in the last episode. Like, okay, so who bit the first person?
How did it spread?
Right.
I mean, I'm loving this section. I'm loving this section right here because if you didn't clearly get it from episode 1, episode 2, he explicitly told you pretty much what happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I love the two of you because you love exposition and Anthony sometimes despises exposition. Like he's like, talk about it. And Anthony's like, get on with it. It's like y'all are like the perfect juxtaposition.
No, this was good. This was like bite-sized exposition. Like she said, if you didn't get it in the first 2 episodes, he gave it to you in about 45 seconds. He's like, and that's a keep it moving exposition.
Right. He basically said General Mills and Kellogg spread the disease.
Like, thanks, guys. Fucking Frosted Flakes, they're infected.
Oh, that is funny. But
along with some Aunt Jemima pancakes.
Hell no.
Yeah, but I mean, and it was interesting when they're having the conversation because she mentions it. She was like, okay, so she was like, one day everybody's just normal, doing things, eating in restaurants, flying on planes, because at this point they had come across a crashed plane in the hills. And again, her wonder at it, she didn't look at it and think, oh my God, people crash. She looked at it and thought, oh my God, an airplane. Did you ever ride in one of those? Oh my God, that's so cool, because she had never done that, So when he starts telling her about everything, he was like, well, one major supplier of bread products, something happened. Everybody gets it. It's in the bread. It's in the flour. And then he takes that minuscule pause when he says pancake mix.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, that's
he
kind of what
never
started
went
this
and bought.
episode.
He never went and bought the pancake mix.
And he did say,
go ahead. He was one short stack closer to being a fucking zombie. Like right there. Like
just because he didn't go to that grocery store on Thursday when he said it was
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And anyone who works in retail knows that all these deliveries everywhere, Thursday morning, usually Tuesday or Wednesday.
Bread is Thursday.
Thursday morning. Thursday morning, and by what did he say? By Friday night.
Everybody's biting everybody.
And
See,
then Monday,
it pays to be lazy. See, this is inspirational to me because it's like every time I'm too lazy to go get some, I'm like, you know what? I could have become a zombie. But no, I stayed my ass in bed and went back to sleep. See, I saved myself and I saved everyone around me. So y'all should be thanking me for being lazy.
I'd be one of those people who probably would turn into a zombie because we ordered lunch today from Jersey Mike's. And when I'm sitting there trying to build my sandwich, it gives you options for bread. It says white bread, whole wheat bread, some rosemary something bread, and no gluten. And I'm sitting there looking at like the no gluten option, but it's an extra $1.85. And I was like, no.
White bread.
I'll have mine in the salad version, please.
Right. I mean, I'm just saying it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't want to pay that $1.85. And then by this time tomorrow, I'll probably be really regretting it if I was living in this world. But, you know, as he's giving her the information, talking about how the world fell, you know, he mentions the date. And again, that slight pause when he says it, like, if you didn't know, or if you hadn't watched the first episode, I think if you had watched this episode and seen that conversation, you wouldn't have even picked up on it because it was that slight. But something about the way he told the story, something about his facial expression, his body language, you know, I'm always paying attention to body language and the way people say things and how they relate things. And it's so minuscule in these scenes, but it's almost like every time he mentioned it, when he mentioned the pancake mix, I was like, oh, it's like a stab to the heart. When he mentions the date, again, it's like a stab to the heart. Like, oh, he's thinking about his little girl. Then we get to a section of the field, and he looks ahead and he's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna go through the forest. And she was like, no, why don't we go this way? He was like, well, there's some things up there you shouldn't see. And of course, what is it? You tell somebody not to press the red button. What's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to press the red button. You tell her, oh, there's something up there I don't want to see. Oh, now I gotta go see it.
I gotta go see it.
And I love the fact that she was just like, well, shit, I gotta go see it now.
I also like the fact that it's a subtle way of showing that he's starting to care for her feeling. He started to view her as more than just a job. Like if he didn't care about her, he wouldn't have cared about her seeing it.
Right.
You know, but he actually was considering her feelings and how she might react. So
and yeah, and I think not even just her feelings, but again, that first part of the episode really focused on showing us that she was very naive when it came to the world because she had never been exposed to it. And just like with Tess in the last episode, even though, yes, they're looking at her as a job, they're like, okay, you know what? You can't be out in this world and not know what's going on because that's a way to get you killed. Or, you know, if not infected, that's a way for you to get ripped apart. And even the other part when, you know, when he was talking about, okay, we're going to go this way, you know, what do we, and she's like, what are you looking for if there's not a lot of infected? He was like, people. Because again, in these kinds of times, people are sometimes more dangerous than the monsters. You know, we talk about that on Walking Dead all the time. So they get up to that field and you see bodies or skeletons from bodies. You see torn clothes and you see suitcases. And when she looks and he tells her, he was like, yeah, you know, they always told people that they were, you know, that they would take them in, that they would keep them safe. They would take them to the quarantine zones. But if they didn't have any
space,
they ended up shooting them. And Ellie was like, why would they shoot them if they weren't sick? And he tells her, he was like, because you can't get infected if you're dead. Like, what are the other options if they're full? To leave them out on the street. And if you leave them, we already know what's going to happen when you have walls and a safe community and you have people outside of that safe community. They want in. They're going to be banging on doors, banging on walls. They're going to be yelling. They're going to be screaming. They're going to be making noise.
Or you just add to the number of infected.
Right.
Which is, it was making me think of Game of Thrones when the White Walkers, they kill a whole bunch of people and all those people become White Walkers. So here, if you can't quarantine zone them and you just can't leave them out because eventually they'll be infected and there'll just be more of them. So it's that cold calculus that the military does sometimes.
Yep. So we see the skeletons, and of course, one of the last images we see from that field is of a baby skeleton, and you see a little bit of the blanket, and then it kind of transitions into the start of this pandemic, and you see the military are there to evacuate a town. You see the mother and holding the baby with that blanket, and they're all getting on a truck. The soldiers are going through the neighborhood trying to clear the house and clear all the houses, and you have this one lone figure sitting in front of TV screens. And at first I was like, okay, is this somebody who's part of the military? Because you saw the cameras. And then when I realized that when they kind of panned back and they showed like the full, I was like, oh, he's hiding from them. And then you could hear them in his house walking above the floor, and you could see the dust coming down. He's sitting there, he's got his gun and he's waiting. And then they clear the house, they get everybody, and they leave the city. He comes up from his basement. First of all, they thought they were in the basement. They were like, yeah, we're checking the basement now and it's clear. I was like, so this man got a sub
basement.
Yeah.
He does.
So anyway, when they clear the town, he comes up with his gun. He's trying to make sure nobody is in his house. He looks around at his town, and the town is empty. When I tell you, I was watching what he was doing, and I was like, yep, I pretty much do that too. Because he did everything. He went and found him some gas for the generators. He went and stocked up on supplies. He grabbed a boat. I was like, what are you going to do with a boat? And then I thought, oh, there's probably a lake nearby. He's probably going to go fishing.
No.
What?
He took the seats out. It was a shopping cart.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's right. He did.
Because as soon as he took the seats, I first thought that too. Like, why the hell you going to go sailing?
You're right.
And then I was like, when he went to that Home Depot, I said, oh, and he took the seats out. I said, this is his huge shopping cart. He about to go crazy.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he didn't have to get a lot because nobody else is in the town.
Right. He can go back when he wants to. He go shopping on Thursdays.
They literally had the town fenced off. So they had it. I guess they tried to quarantine it at first or tried to contain it.
He built that fence.
There was part of the fence around there, wasn't
Mm-mm.
Or did he build it? Okay.
He built that fence.
He built that fence.
Hold on, let me look.
Because this was September 30th. They ain't have time to try to no fence.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay. But yeah, but I mean, even so,
he's a hell of a fence builder. I mean, shit.
He did.
He built a fucking security fence with a digital entry gate, like,
and he electrified it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like,
the high voltage signs on it. I was like so impressed with this dude. I was like, okay. I mean, but can you imagine? And when I was younger, I probably would have been like, no, I'm not staying in a whole city by myself. Now that I'm older and I've become a little more introverted, I'm like, can you imagine the peace and quiet?
No.
And I mean,
okay.
He had electricity. Well, he had gas. He did have some electricity because he had the generator. He's got access to all the gas, and I don't know what town he was in, but the fact that that town wasn't rated more than it had been, like we only saw one instance later on in the episode where somebody was actually trying to take his house. I'm like, hold up. First of all these empty homes around here, y'all want to take the one that the one guy is living in. And I know that was probably just okay, you know what? We just need to go ahead and secure it, make sure nobody's opposing us. But still, y'all could have went on the other side of town Y'all didn't need
But-
that particular house. Like
You do, because he had a nice section blocked off. And if someone has that blocked off like that, they have some good ass supplies.
I know.
Exactly.
Some
I
good.
know.
But here's the thing, he went to the power plant too. I
Mhm.
mean, like,
I was wondering, did he go? It looked like he went and turned the gas on.
He turned it back on because
He
remember
turns
when he
it back
went to
on.
Home Depot, that's when the power grid went out and he was like, oh, that was quick.
Yeah,
And he went and turned it on.
he
And
turned it back on.
Yep.
I guess, nobody ever looked and said, hey, why don't we have power going here and we cleared out that town? Let's go check. I guess they figured, oh well, if he's over there by himself, we're just gonna leave him alone. I mean,
I think they had abandoned the power plants at that point.
yeah.
or there probably
That
wasn't
gas.
enough,
Mhm.
and there wasn't enough people for them
Yeah.
to watch it
Mhm.
in that sense.
Mm-mm.
But from the time that started to the time that he meets Frank, 4 years goes by. And I'm like, he did a lot in 4 years. But then again, if you ain't got shit else to do,
That damn thing.
Got up like he going to work. He's like, okay, this week.
Think about it. He'd been preparing for this all his life.
Basically,
He had
yeah.
a plan. He knew exactly what he was doing.
He did. And he had the Home Depot to help him.
Yeah.
The Home Depot.
I mean,
Beat
he had
Home
it
Depot.
all.
He had it. Yes.
So anyway, 4 years into all of this, he's sitting there doing some kind of maintenance, and one of his alarms goes off, and he has a hole. I'm wondering, was he trying to dig a well there because it was very circular, or was it just supposed to be a trap?
That's a
Because he
trap.
did have
It's
some
traps. Yeah, it was
He's
traps.
a trap.
Now, some of his traps, like the one trap he had where one of the infected was coming across and it tripped the wire and it shot the zombie. And again, those things are hard to kill because even after it had been shot, it was still sitting on the ground wriggling. I was like, But he he goes to check his trap, and there's a man inside this hole. And there's a little conversation, but it was so funny because I'm looking at the way that he reacted. And like before I knew that this was going to be a love story, it was his reaction, the way that he reacted, because it's almost like he was expecting someone more threatening, probably less attractive. Because I mean, even though he was kind of scruffy and dirty and stuff, Frank is still an attractive man. And it's like the way he came up on him and he stopped, it was kind of like, oh wait, I wasn't expecting this. Like, I think if it had been a female, if it had been maybe a younger guy or something like that, he probably would have fed them and let them go. I really feel that. But it's like, even from the beginning, when they first meet each other and he finally decides to let Frank out of the hole and he tests him, and the back and forth, the way they're kind of sizing each other up, I was just like, yep, I already ship it.
Well, let me go back. I don't think it didn't matter who it was. I don't even care if it was a 5-year-old child. I don't think he would have fed them. First of all, it takes him about 2 hours to complete a meal. Okay, because he went to culinary school. So I don't think he would have fed them anything. Exactly right. He wouldn't let no one in. No one.
Yeah.
He been prepared for this shit.
He's better than I am, because I'd have put a shotgun slug in his head, because I wouldn't trust nobody.
Yeah,
but
he's like Joel.
That's just
helping nobody.
But he was lonely.
He said, he like people. He wasn't lonely.
He was not
lonely.
Nah.
He may have been lonely.
He was lonely.
Between him and him being unlonely and being unlonely and dead and lonely and surviving, he'll pick lonely and surviving every time.
And I get that, but I guess I just wonder, like, sometimes with these survivalists or these doomsday people, like, when they plan this stuff and something happens, I wonder, do they, like, I can see in my mind, or I can say in my mind, okay, I know if such and such happens, we might lose 50%, 75% of the population. Okay, there'll be a lot less people around. Okay, for some people, that's great. Oh, it's too crowded anyway. People get on my nerves. People are they're cruel to each other, this, that, and the other. So some people might be okay with situations like he found himself in. But as the time goes by, and it might be different for him because he seemed like the loner type anyway, but somebody like me, I'm going to start to miss human interaction, human touch, even if it's simple, just a hug, just a hello. That kind of thing, like after a year, I might be okay. 2 years,
but
maybe.
you have to be suspicious of people. I mean, you can't just let anybody in your house.
I know.
It's true. It's just like, okay, like you said, like you would like if that was me, and I would have been just like him. Because there's a movie that came out when we were kids called Night of the Comet, where like a comet came by and like turned everybody into red dust, and there was like a group of teenagers that were left, and they just went wild, just went like grabbing everything. See, I would have been either like that or like that show The Last Man on Earth with Will Forte, where I would have done a whole lot of stupid shit and been like, oh fuck, I gotta figure something out because this is getting out of hand. But it's like you have to be careful in this point because it's like you don't know. I mean, he's fortunate to have a tester. If he didn't have a tester, he would have been fucked.
First of all, how do you get the tester?
They probably had, so they left.
They didn't have a tester on the 30th. There's no way you don't really know what's going on. You have a tester on the 30th. That's
scavenging.
Right. He did. That's just interesting to me. He left.
I was gonna say the other thing too with him, as far as not trusting people. I would think that somebody who has done that much prep into surviving a pandemic, surviving an apocalypse, he would seem to have like a pretty good sense of who people are.
I'm gonna say this, and I'm not gonna, and I'll leave it alone. You're giving the writers too much credit, and I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Okay.
And I'm sorry to all the preppers out there. These preppers are serious. They're not letting people in. I mean, you got to give your social security number, your blood type. You're gonna have to sleep in a tent for 2 weeks to prove that you can come inside that house.
And then, like, I guess later, like, we don't know it now, but later we realized or found out that he don't really think about raiders. So it's possible he just didn't think that this guy could be just trying to get in so he could let his friends in. Like he's because I don't think he thought about that.
But what was his traps for? Not just for the infected. It had to be also for people. His guns ready too.
Yeah,
that's true.
It was very effective in deterring people from getting near his fence. Like,
right. I don't think he was doing groups. I don't think he was ready for a group.
Again, he's better than I am because I wouldn't trust you. If I see you like this, my automatic assumption is 1, why are you doing way out here by yourself? And 2, where are your friends at? So no, we not. He's staying right there in that hole.
He gave you an explanation. He was coming from the Baltimore QZ, which is gone. And he left with 10 people.
I would just assume that's a lie. Why would I believe you?
Why?
Or it's one of those things, and I mean, we've had this discussion talking, again, we are going to make Walking Dead comparisons because that's like the other big zombie show that we do. But I mean, that was one of the things that when I was on Sci-Fi Party Line and we talked about the episodes, like when they met Bob, like, how are you the lone survivor of 2 groups? Like, that is strange.
That is. You push some people in the way.
Oh, poor Bob.
But I mean, yeah, I know. Tainted me. Yes, I know. But I'm just saying, it's one of those things where you do kind of wonder, like, how is it that all of your people died and yet you're still here? But you think about that with the governor too, even though we know what happened with his people, when he comes across Tara and her sister, they don't know. His whole thing is just, I was with a group, they're all gone and it's just me. Well, how is it just you? It's just one of those things where, yeah, I would be kind of skeptical.
Suspicious.
Like,
well,
okay,
look,
so what caused the QZ to fall? Like, what happened? And how did you get out of there?
Well, look at it like this. It's like I ain't got to be faster than the zombies. I just got to be faster than the person behind me. I ain't got to outrun nobody but you. So
true. This is true. So anyway, we can speculate all day long about why he made the decision he did, but he did make the decision. And I think it was clear kind of early on that he was struggling with something within himself. You know, first of all, the fact that he did let this person in his house, this stranger in his house. And then, you know, Frank goes to take a shower, and when he brings Frank the clothes, you can tell he's a little uncomfortable. You know, I think part of it was the fact that you have this person in your house. And then the other part of the fact is, like I said, I got the feeling that Bill was lonely. You know, I got the feeling that, again, he looked at this person and maybe something threw him off. You know, maybe he looked at Frank and he's like, oh, here's this attractive guy. Oh, wait, that kind of thing is supposed to be over for me, but it's right here. Like, it literally fell in my lap, you know? But it's one of those things where he's like, okay, well, he's only going to be here for the day. I'm just going to feed him and send him on his way. And I feel like the way that Nick Offerman played this role, and brilliant. Mm-hmm. You could kind of feel the tug and pull of, okay, I want him to stay. I hate
I'm
you.
sorry. You said fill in my lap, and now you said tug and pull.
Shut up.
I cannot help it. I'm so sorry. You said it, not
so
me.
Fucking immature. You are so immature. But anyway, so he feels this conflict about what to do about this person. And then they have the dinner, and Frank.
Okay, hold up. Can we talk about the care with which he served this dude that he just met?
Again, that's what
like he set the plate down, then he turned it slightly to enhance the presentation of the rabbit that he just cooked. It's like that as a server, I noticed that. I was like
Michelle said, he went to culinary school.
You have to, because you have to see the care he was taking in making that steak, and he made that glaze on the side and picking the right wine. So know that's his thing right there.
That shit made me hungry. I was like, damn, dog.
I was like, excuse me, do I need to go hunt and put, like, he created his own, like.
Once again, the focus is on food. This time it's food we could actually eat.
Yeah, with some potatoes,
carrots,
some rabbits.
Those kind of a homely looking carrot, but I mean, some carrot nonetheless.
Better than nothing.
And he got the crystal out and the china.
Yeah, and that's why I said I feel like at that point it was kind of nice. Like I don't know, maybe he wasn't trying to get him to stay, but at the same time, I feel like he was putting it out there like, oh yes, I have nice things.
It was a seduction.
Yes. I do feel that.
Because he didn't give him just a regular cheeseburger or a sandwich.
No, he got a rabbit and he paired it with the Beaujolais. Like, yo,
and the fact that Frank knew, Frank you knew to pair this with a Beaujolais. Like, really?
I mean, yeah, exactly. It's like, and he just didn't pour the wine.
How he served,
on the bottom, it was like,
serve it.
I was like, I did. Yeah, you try to get some booty. Look at you.
So that's the point where I was like, yeah, this is gonna be a thing. This is definitely gonna be a thing. And when
it's like, plus it's like this is probably a big part of his life that he probably missed. And it's like he hadn't had a chance to do that in like 3 years.
Well, I mean, but think about it.
He didn't do it before.
When they finally did go to bed, Frank asked him, "Have you ever done this before?" And he was like,
"No,
only once with a girl."
What I'm saying is like this is something that he's probably seen done. Is that he's probably, because he researches everything, so he probably came across somebody preparing it and serving it and things like that. He probably has seen like culinary shows and seen them serving people like that. So he knew how to do it. He just never had the opportunity to put it in action with anybody
someone else.
And did you see his wine rack in the basement? I mean, that was before all this happened. So he has.
But don't forget, he stays right down the street from a.
He stopped there too with his boat.
Yeah,
and picked up a couple cases.
He knows what he's done. He think about it, it was probably him and his mom, and he probably did this for her. This was something that he did other than collect guns and doomsday prep. He
That gun collection was quite impressive.
That gun collection was fire.
It was impressive. I was like, okay.
Guns and wine. What else do you need?
And it was going oh so well until someone started to sing. He was like, nah, this ain't working.
I don't know if it was I don't know.
The wrong notes on the piano. He was
like, good.
Like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Please,
but to me, that made the scene more endearing.
With Frank's singing like that, no, he really was like, please get off my piano.
No, and I understand that, but what I'm saying, I feel like it made the scene more endearing because, you know, usually when you see scenes like this, you have somebody who can play like so well and who can sing. It's almost like they should be a professional singer and they're seducing them that way, you know, because the other person's just like, oh my God, you're so great. And it wasn't that in this episode. It was kind of like, yeah, I really can't play as well as I want to, and my singing is out of tune, but it was something that was sincere and from the heart. And I think that's what both of them connected with. You know?
I would say they were connected once he pushed him aside. And Bill got on that piano and sung his heart out, and that's when I found the connection.
Shout out to Nick Offerman for having a little bit of pipes on him. Like, all right, damn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was singing it. Yeah, like you said, he sang the hell out of that song. I was like, okay, like he really put his heart into it, and it's like, damn. And of course, and then here goes Frank trying to be sly. He's like, yeah, so who's the girl?
Because you could tell he was singing that for someone, either for someone or rather for himself. Like, I wish this is something I could have experienced. Because of course, when we're living in the here and now, we don't think about the world ending. We're like, oh, okay, maybe I haven't found the right one. Oh, I'll find them later. Or I'll find them down the line, or maybe it's not my time yet. But then what happens if that time never comes? Again, Bill probably thought he was going to be alone forever, you know, and especially if he was what I suspect is closeted, then once the world fell to shit, he was probably like, oh, I'm just fucked. It's just gonna be me. I'm never gonna experience this, whatever. And then here comes Frank, and Frank kind of fills him out as far as like, okay, so who's the girl? And when he makes that admission, he was like, there is no girl. And he's crying. And Frank is like, I know. And when they kiss, I was like, but you don't even know his name yet.
No, but you at this point, I'll be like, I'm in love too. I mean, look at how this man cooked. And now he at the piano singing, making love to the piano keys. And, oh.
Do you see how Anthony is looking at you?
Oh, I was like, hey, I'm here. Let me make sure he's available.
So Anthony, you know, if you ever do it, if you're ever in the doghouse, you need to learn how to cook a rabbit and pair it with the proper wine, and then go play something on the piano and serenade her.
Go ahead and get you a couple bottles of that Beaujolais and get it ready.
But then, okay, so we go from the kiss, we go to the bedrooms, and I kind of like the way that Frank put it down. He kissed him and he was like, go take a shower.
Take a shower.
I was like, oh, he just basically said, you about to get laid, go get clean. I was like, okay. And then
it kind of made me smell like he hadn't showered in a couple of days, but I need to go freshen up.
Yeah, you know, get some of that thing.
But then of course, you know, you see the scene where they're in bed, and the care that Frank takes with Bill, because again, he asked me, he was like, have you ever done this before? No, only with a girl. Okay, so we're gonna start with the basics. And also, just to let you know, I'm not a whore. I'm not an Elon type of guy.
He tugged that towel and pulled him in the bed, like, oh, hey.
But did you see the look after he tucked the towel in the towel face? He was looking like, oh yeah, we can work with it.
Yeah, so here we go. We checking off some boxes here. Baby, we checking off some boxes.
First of all, can we back up a second? Okay. I look at these dudes, I'm like, man, they're in good fucking shape. God damn it.
I mean, that's from that running from.
It looks like a defensive end over there, and
for real, like he definitely looked, yeah.
Boy.
But I mean, you never.
Running from the infected. That's your, and you can't eat much. That's your diet. You know what I'm saying?
All you eat is protein, right? And with a potato here and there.
Right. You ain't eating, some carbs at this point. You are, but you're not eating no pasta, not made with flour. So, you meat and potatoes.
I'm just saying, they
meat and potatoes.
They look pretty good.
And first of all, Bill built the whole community. So he been working out every day.
Right. Like you said, put up electric fence.
Yeah, he just can't run. See, that's a different type of exercise, but
taking holes and
no
cardio.
He ain't doing enough cardio.
Yeah, he lifting weights.
Yeah,
but Frank, on the other hand, been running for his life.
Right, he has. He been picking up. He worked for the pick up the dead bodies and throw them in the fire. So that's the.
How far is Baltimore from Boston?
Workout.
That's a good question.
I don't know.
So yeah, but it's funny. Like I said, you go from them in the bedroom scene, and Frank is taking a lot of care with Bill, and everything looks romantic. And then it cuts to them arguing 3 years later with Frank coming out the house, storming out the house. I'm done, blah, blah, blah. And they're having this argument. And then you realize they're having this argument because Frank is mad because Bill has let the house go to shit. And he's like, no, I want to beautify. This is, what did he say? Us taking care of things, that shows love. And so he wants to he was like, all I'm asking for is some paint and a lawnmower. Is this what y'all arguing about? Like, don't y'all have more important things?
Not really. They ain't got shit else.
Right. But this is where we realize, towards the end, once Bill kind of gives in and he's like, okay. And then he's like, oh, I'm going to fix up the boutique and the such and such too. And Bill is like, no. Oh, by the way, it'll be nice when I invite this girl that I've been chatting on the radio with. It's like,
yeah.
And this is where we learn, how he's met Tess and Joel, because the next scene that we see, Tess and Joel are there. They're sitting outside on, in the front yard. They're eating on the good china and the good crystalware. And this is where they're kind of feeling each other out, trying to decide if they're going to be in partnership with each other. And basically, Tess and Joel are offering supplies from the QZ that they don't have in exchange for, other supplies or help. And it's so funny because you have them sitting. So Bill is sitting across the table from Joel, and Frank is sitting across the table from Tess. Frank and Tess are talking like they have been friends for 20 years. They are having a ball. They're getting along. Nick is sitting there eating with one hand, got his gun in the other, pointing at Joel. And Joel's just sitting there eating. And when Frank takes Tess inside the house to show her the house, which Bill is also objecting to, him and Joel kind of have a conversation. And Joel is like, nope, I understand. Being paranoid, you don't know what's going on. Yeah, you got a nice little setup here. People might, I understand that, but get that gun out my face. Like, he changed it real quick. I was like, okay, this is the Joel that everybody was like, yeah, we know you can take care of some shit. Because he's just sitting there talking. He was like, yeah, I understand. You got to protect what's yours and blah, 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 blah. But you're going to get that gun out my face. I was like, dang, Joel got black there for him. He was like, hold up, what we not about to do?
All that shit he's been through, he's like, okay, yeah. You're paranoid, I get that, but yeah, you're gonna put that down, player.
Right. But then as they're escorting them out the gate, that's where we realized that Frank is the one who came up with the idea for the radio codes. The 80s means you're in trouble, 70s means things are a little kind of shaky, 60s music is, everything's okay. So they're walking off like they're really good friends. And Joel and Bill stay back, and Joel is giving him a warning. He was like, look, I know you can take care of yourselves. I know you got things going. He said, you may not have to worry about infected, but there will be raiders. They will come, they will be in groups, and they will come at night. And, he's trying to warn Bill, you need better protection. He'd already peeped out like, oh, okay, your fences are rotted. Your fences are rusting. I can get you galvanized steel. That'll take care of you for life. And, you know, he's offering these different things to him and just basically saying, look, protect your shit, you know. And then we get another time jump to 3 years later where I don't know if this has come, you know, happened, like have raiders tried to come, but when you see this, when you see the gate next, there's a whole bunch of cars piled one on top of each other. Like, for you get the cars one on top of each other, because the cars were stacked like four cars high. You
Yeah,
do that.
there's some heavy equipment still there. Remember, he was able to go to a power plant, so they have machines that pick up the power poles.
Yeah.
So that's probably what he used.
I'm sure there's a couple of excavators or backhoes over
Yeah.
there that he can figure out how to drive around.
All that stuff would be at the power plant.
Yep.
Or the gas plant, either one.
But I was like, oh, somebody tried to get in here because, like I said, cars stacked 4 deep.
Or he just took Joel at his word.
Yeah,
said,
he was like, okay, you know what? Let's just. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's where the fence started breaking down, because something tells me he didn't take Joel up on his offer, and maybe that section of the fence was what started rusting. And he was like, okay, well, let's go ahead and just kind of barricade this, because I can't see you doing, like, he had his whole community fenced off. I can't see you doing that with like that. To me, that would scream, hey, somebody's here and we got shit you can take. Like if you have it on one section of the fence, okay, maybe right at the beginning they tried to keep something out or whatever. He doesn't really take care of the rest of the neighborhood, so it looks kind of downtrodden. Like, obviously their house still looks good. The boutique, because that's what Frank wants, looks good. But I mean, we see even towards the end, the boutique had fallen in disrepair. So I don't think he was really taking care of the neighborhood in that sense, because you don't want people to be like, oh, well, these houses are well taken care of, let's crash here, or anything like that. But yeah, I was just like, that's a lot of weight for 2 people to move. And you know, I didn't even think about the construction vehicles, because I feel like maybe when they evacuated, if it was something that would have helped out the military, they probably would have taken it.
No,
but
they would have had, because they probably know they have that stuff. They would have called ahead and be like, do we have X, Y, and Z there? Yeah, we have it there. Okay, then they're not going to waste the effort to move all that stuff.
Or the gas.
Or the gas. Yeah, move quick.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so this is where we see them jogging around the neighborhood, and Frank takes Bill to see something, and he said, what did he say? He traded Joel and Tess a gun for some strawberry seeds.
What gun?
Yeah, like,
he's like, well, it's just a little one.
It was one of the little ones.
The small
like, it wasn't your favorite one or something like that. But you see strawberries. He surprised him with strawberries. And it's just the tenderness in this scene, and just the simplicity of it. Like, something as simple as a strawberry bringing someone to tears, because this is something they hadn't seen. And I think at this point it's been 12. No, it's been 9 years at this point, because it was 3 years. No, let me see.
6
years.
6 years.
Because it had been no, it had been 4 years from the time that it started to the time he found Frank. And then it was 3 years till now. So yeah, 7 years. Okay. But you haven't seen a strawberry in 7 years. And you know, again, this episode is just kind of, it's not very forward moving as far as the plot. It's definitely one of those side episodes, and the showrunners have said this is something that doesn't happen in the games. And that's kind of the consensus I've seen online, because everyone has told me, okay, Bill is in the game and Bill is an asshole in the game. Mm-hmm. We know that Frank is his partner, but from what I've gathered, Frank is not in the game for very long. And we know that they're partners, but there's not a lot of interaction, and we don't know, like, Frank apparently dies in the game, but I don't know how, because I haven't played the game, and I've been kind of staying away from most
Frank separated himself from Bill, and Frank doesn't like Bill right now.
Okay.
Until I guess I didn't know he died, but
I think that's what I read, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, but they don't. He didn't like Bill anymore.
Okay. Anthony is like, nope. But anyway.
Well, that's not. I mean, hey, that's not a spoiler. We don't care. Bill's in the game. Frank's not, and they didn't have a great relationship. But here they do.
Yeah, they do, and I mean, like I said, it was one of those things where this was a story I wasn't expecting from the show. And then when I started seeing everybody's reaction to it, like everybody's saying, oh my God, this is one of the best episodes on TV. This is one of the best romances on TV. The way that they told the episode, and people are like, oh, this wasn't in the game. And I really don't care that it wasn't in the game. It was amazing.
Right. And I saw that, I don't know how a couple people have seen the episode, but after last week's episode, like 2 days later, I heard about this episode being longer. And that it was one of the best episodes.
Okay. Yeah.
And they couldn't wait until Sunday to watch it.
Probably people who had access to the screeners. You know, the journalists or the bloggers and reporters who had access to it. But you know, you get to see a little bit more of them. You see, I think it's another time jump where we see raiders. They did come at night. They did come in a group. And like you said, I think Bill took Joel's advice to heart, because you see the traps that he's laid out. And it's kind of like, yo, I don't know who y'all thought y'all were fucking with, but this dude was ready for y'all.
Yeah, it looked like war outside.
Like it had fire and it had this and it had that, and like people getting cut open, people are being set on fire. And I don't know where Bill was at first. Frank was in the bed just sleep, and the fire woke him up, and he runs out the house and he looks, and there's a figure shooting at the other people. I did not realize it was Bill at first, because he looked different. He carried himself different. And I was just like, oh, okay, so he's really about that life. Like, oh, y'all not about to come and take everything that I built up over.
Y'all don't want this smoke.
Y'all don't want this smoke at all.
He was standing in the middle of the street, though. I'm like, bruh, all the prep you did.
He wasn't being hit. The only reason he got shot was because Frank came out on the porch and called his name, and he was like, get back in the house. He was worried about Frank, and he literally said this in the scene before. You know, he said, I wasn't afraid. He said, I was never afraid until you came along. Like, he didn't have anything to lose.
I have one gripe. He has a rifle with a scope on it. Why are you standing in the middle
why are you standing in the middle of the damn street? Why aren't you at least in the top floor of your house, like picking people off from there?
He probably just grabbed the first thing that was there and
walked into the middle of the street
with a rifle with a scope. Anyone play any first-person shooter knows
you get behind something.
You get behind cover.
Set up. Exactly.
Yeah, rifle with a scope.
Maybe he wasn't thinking clearly.
Like bang, bang, bang. No. Like if you had an assault rifle, fine. But if you had a hunting rifle with a scope, you behind something, or you're in some bushes or something, and you're scoping them out and picking them off like that.
Like, he should have been on the top floor looking out the window. He can see all of them out there. Just pick them off.
But he has a scope where he doesn't have to be in the middle of the street close to them to see, so he doesn't get fucking shot.
And all those guns, you can't tell me he didn't have one that had a night vision scope.
You're right.
You can't at all. You know,
like
he probably got 5 of them motherfuckers.
He probably grabbed whatever was upstairs.
Yeah, he
because
did.
Most of his guns were downstairs. He probably grabbed the first thing that was there
and went outside and started shooting.
And I mean, think about it. He's a hunt. No, but I mean, think about it. He hunts for their food. So the hunting rifle was probably just upstairs, and he probably just grabbed it and didn't think about it. He was just like, oh, y'all motherfuckers coming to try to take my shit. Okay, let me walk out here. He probably wasn't thinking clearly.
It had a scope.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, he like Dirty Harry. Everybody else got machine guns. He gonna come out there with one gun. I got you.
Right. But anyway, so like we said, he gets distracted by Frank. He gets shot. Frank brings him in the house, puts him on the table. He starts trying to dig the bullet out, and Bill is like thinking he's about to die. He was like, I left instructions for you, and I told, call Joel and da 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 da. And Frank is just sitting there like, dude, we're not doing this. You ain't going nowhere. We're gonna be good. And then we see another time jump. Now, this time jump made me sad because Bill is clearly alive, but Frank is not in the best of health.
No, I thought this was it for him.
I couldn't tell if he had MS or like Lou Gehrig's disease. It was something that was inhibiting his mobility. Yeah, degenerative. Yeah, but I was like, oh man, when he was painting, that broke my heart. It's like, but
can we go back a little bit? Because that's what I thought. I thought that was the end for Bill. And Bill is sitting there like, make sure you call Joel. You can't stay here by yourself. You certainly can't stay here by yourself. Someone needs to protect you. I'm like, no, he's not going to die right now on this table.
And then we get a 10-year time jump. So at this point, it's been 20 years since it started. And it does say 2023 at, when we get the time jump. So it's present day. Like we said, Frank is not doing well. He has some kind of degenerative disease. He's he's wheelchair bound. He's struggling to hold a paintbrush, and we see like from around their house, he's done a lot of painting. The house is like covered with his art, but he is struggling now. And I don't know, it's like you see him and Bill interacting with each other, and Bill is still trying to be strong for him. And it was just, I felt like when he was at that easel and he was trying to paint Bill, and he couldn't get the strokes right, and he was just looking at it and looking at how the painting wasn't going to do what he wanted it to do. I was like, yeah, I feel like he's made that decision. And you see them at the at dinner that night, and you see how Bill has to struggle to take care of him. How he has to lift him up in the bed. And I think Bill slept through Frank having to go to the bathroom the night before. So when Bill wakes up the next morning, Frank is in his wheelchair and he's looking like, oh shit. And Frank was like, yeah, it took me almost all night. And, Bill is like, oh, I'm sorry, trying to get him back in the bed. And he was like, no, I'm going to sit in this chair because this will be the last day I sit in this chair. I'm not doing this anymore. And I was like, here y'all go with the breaking of our hearts. And I knew when he said it, and they were sitting there on the couch, and they were, it's like Bill was trying to get it in his mind, like, okay, how can I convince him not to do this? And you can see Frank was clearly at peace with the decision he had made. He was like, no, I'm not going to keep doing this. I just want one good day with you. He was like, if you love me, you'll give me one perfect day. He was like, we're going to go for a walk. We're going to go to the boutique. You're going to pick out, you're going to wear what I pick out. Then we're going to get married. I was like, yeah. But then again, I guess it really doesn't matter in that whole scenario. Like, but he's like, we're going to get married. We're going to come home. You're going to cook us a fabulous dinner. And then you're going to grind up these pills right here for me, put them in my wine, and I'm going to go to sleep. And I was like, I already knew. I was like, Bill ain't going to be down with this.
No, because he was struggling on that couch.
Yeah.
And after Frank outlined all of this, and he was like, okay, we'll do this. I was like, yeah, Bill ain't making it out this episode either. I was like, because I just don't, even though we only get them in this one episode, I was like, I don't see Frank living with, I don't see Bill living without Frank.
Yeah.
Nope.
Like what's the whole purpose?
Like, why?
Absolutely
Right.
Yeah.
They had a full life.
A full life.
Yeah, there's like no point in Frank and Bill and Bill even going on. That's like, what? So you can wait for someone else to come by? Like, no, that's not how this works.
He's not gonna care about anybody else coming by at this point.
At all.
Probably be like, okay, yeah, you got here by mistake. Boston is that way. Take your ass on.
You cannot pass.
You cannot pass. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Nothing. But like I said, Frank has made his peace with it. And Bill is like, okay, I'm gonna give you the perfect day. That's what you wanted. And that's what they do. They get dressed up real nice. They go for a walk to the boutique. They get dressed up real nice. They have their own little marriage ceremony. And Bill fixes him dinner, and it's the exact same dinner that he fixed them the first time they ate together. And he's got the wine. And especially when he did that, I was like, oh yeah, they're both of them. They're done. They're done.
Yeah.
I thought at first, I was like, please don't pull some Romeo and Juliet type thing where Frank is planning to die and Bill is like, okay, I'm going to die with him. And then Frank is like, oh, I don't want to leave you alone. And I was so scared it was going to be something like that. I was like, please don't do that. Like, that would be a twist, but that is not a twist I want.
Right.
Right.
Or Bill be like, yeah, I gave it to you. And you wake up the next morning, what happened, Bill? Oh, I must didn't give you enough. Let's try again tonight.
Yeah. That would be cruel. But yeah. So you see, after they finish eating, Bill goes back into the kitchen. He comes back with another bottle of wine and some tall wine glasses. And he makes a show of pouring the wine, setting the bottle down, pulling out the bag of crushed pills, dumping the whole bag in the wine, and giving it to Frank. And I think Frank knew at that moment, but he didn't want to say anything. Like, I guess in a way not to break the spell. He downs the whole bottle of wine. I mean, the whole glass of wine. And then Bill does the same thing. And he just looks at Bill. He was like, there were already pills in the wine, huh? Yep, enough to kill a horse.
Because he didn't open the bottle. The bottle was already open when he came in.
The bottle was already open when he came in the dining room. So I knew it. I was like, yeah, he already did something to that wine.
And when Frank took it like to the head, and you saw Bill looking at him, then he took it to the head. I was like, like my heart fell.
Because he was too calm about it. Yeah. He was too calm.
And still didn't put up a last minute, no, like, don't do this.
Please. Right, exactly. Yeah. That's why I was like, oh yeah, Bill is going on this joyride with you, Frank. And Frank looks at him, he was like, I don't approve of this, but when you think about it, it is kind of romantic. So I even like the fact that they understood each other. And Bill said, look, there's no life for me here without you. He was like, I've had a full life with you. I'm good. I'm so good with this. And so after all of that, Frank tells him, take me to bed. They, he wheels him to the bedroom. They close the door. And then the next thing we see is Ellie and Joel. And I was like, y'all can wait a few more days. Ellie and Joel, they come up to the town, they come up to the gate, and Joel has the code to get in the gate. And when they approach the house, he notices how the flowers in front of the yard have all died and how the grass is overgrown and hasn't been cut. Like, literally, the house has not been taken care of the way that Frank took care of the house. So I think at that moment, he knew something was wrong. They go in the house. They start to look around. There's
the food's on the table.
The food's on the table. What was left of the dinner hasn't been touched. There's lots of dust on the furniture. So I don't know how long it's been. I can't remember what the dates were from when they left the QZ, and I don't remember if they put a specific month. When
they didn't.
10 years later, they just said 2023. So Joel starts going around the house. He and Ellie, they're looking around the house. Joel goes to the bedroom and he tries to get in, but the bedroom door is locked. And as he's doing that, Ellie finds a note on the table with a key. And when Joel comes back into the room, Ellie is reading the note. And she was like, well, it said, to whom it may concern, or Joel, whoever,
Probably Joe.
Probably Joel.
Probably Joe.
And she was like, I figured I'm the, to whom it may concern, or the whomever. And he asked her, he was like, so are they dead? And she was like, yes. And she reads them the note. And basically, Bill is telling, he was like, Joel, if you're reading this, please don't come into the bedroom. We opened up the window so there wouldn't be a smell. Just leave us in peace. You don't want to come in and see what you may see. And he starts laying it out. You can have anything, take anything you want. The gate code, the bunker code. Here's the key. Da 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 da. Take care of people. Use what I've left behind. And as Ellie is reading, she stops, and I was like, oh, he mentioned Tess in this letter. Because again, at that point, they didn't know Tess was dead because Tess literally just died, a day before, 2 days before. So Joe reads out the rest of the letter. He walks outside, and then, we see a little bit of emotion from him because, as Bill says in the letter, he was like, Joel, I never really liked you anyway. But I feel like that was a lie, because why would you leave him all this stuff if you didn't like him anyway? So he goes into
he wouldn't give Joel the satisfaction.
Of course.
Yeah. I respected you, but I'm not going to tell you I liked you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But Joel goes into the garage, and the truck is there. The truck has been covered. It's in good condition. It's missing a battery. So of course he's upset. And then he notices the refrigerator that's in the garage. He goes in, and when I tell you, Bill was prepared.
Yep.
Joel was able to build a battery. They were able to get, items. There was even women's clothes in the house, for Ellie was able to get some clothes that probably belonged to Bill's mom or maybe a sister or something like that.
Hey.
So they're able.
Or he got it from the boutique for Tess. When Tess comes, he got it from the boutique.
Okay, that makes sense. They got hot water. Ellie's like, oh, I'm taking a shower, and you should. I mean, like I said, the banter between them is so cute. And then when they finally,
shout out to Joel for knowing how to build a battery. Like, holy shit.
Hey, I would
20 years.
I would expect nothing less, especially in the conditions they live in. I would expect nothing less.
You want to know what it takes to make a battery. So if you need to make one, if you get all the pieces for it, you can make one. He opens the refrigerator, and everything you need to make it is there. So
everything.
Yeah.
Right down to the sulfuric acid. Like, everything was there.
Yeah.
Everything. But it was so cool because when they finally get in the truck, when they finally pack the truck with the stuff that they need and they're getting ready to go, they get in the truck. And again, Ellie is like, she's like a kid in a candy store. She's never been in the truck. She's never been in the vehicle. And she's looking around. Oh, excuse me, I forgot about her finding the gun in the house. She found a gun in one of the drawers. And of course, throughout this whole episode, ever since she met Joel, she's been trying to get him to give her a gun.
Yeah. Oh, because when they went into the bunker, she was like, ooh, and he was like, no.
Right.
Yeah. And then the music was playing, because remember, was at the end of the first episode when they were out of the apartment, the music was playing, and it was that same song.
Yeah.
Which meant trouble, or that playlist.
Yeah.
From the 70s, that meant trouble.
No, 80s.
80s.
Trouble. Yep.
Trouble. So.
Mm-hmm. So, and what did he say? It's programmed to automatically start if it's not reset. So that means if Bill is not there to reset it, it's gonna play, and it's gonna keep on playing. So I would assume if you didn't leave when you heard the first 80s song play, the fact that 80s songs kept playing, that would clue you into, oh shit, there's some problems at Bill and Frank's. Right. So, but of course they weren't there, so he didn't know. He didn't even know the radio came on because they had already left.
Yep.
But they're in the truck, and when he's telling her when they're getting ready to leave, he was like, buckle your seatbelt. And she's looking at him like, what?
What?
When I tell you, I fell out laughing because I was like, something so simple as buckle your seatbelt. And she's looking at him like, what the fuck are you talking about? He just looked at her. He kind of reaches over her and he gives it to her. He was like, buckle your seatbelt. And then she's like, oh, okay, this is. I was like, wow, do I feel so old right now?
And then I had a jump scare.
The jump scare on. What you had a jump scare on?
The rear view mirror when she was moving it, and I was like, is somebody about to jump out of somewhere? And then he comes looking at her. I'm like, I jumped. That was the weirdest thing. I don't know why. I'm
Like,
like, why y'all put that in there?
Joe's
But
a scary
she even
dude.
jumped herself like, oh, okay, I see
like we
everything.
haven't seen a whole, except for the part where Ellie found one, we haven't seen a whole infected person in Bill's town. And I don't care what town, that's Bill's town. We haven't seen a whole infected person in that town, and you got a jump scare.
Yeah.
It was a figmentation of your imagination. But yeah, so they get in the truck, they take off, and before that, when they're having the conversation, and Joe realizes what has been left to him, he lays down some ground rules about Ellie. He's like, look, he was like, my brother is in Wyoming somewhere. He's in trouble. I'm going to find him. He used to be a Firefly, so he probably knows the people that I need to get you to. If you're gonna go with me, you got to follow some rules. One, we don't need to share our life experiences. I don't need to know about you. You don't need to know about me, because again, she is curious. She's been asking him questions about his past and stuff like that. He's like, we don't need to share. You need to do everything I tell you to do when I tell you to do. If you don't, we're done. So once they get those ground rules out, they get in the truck. Like I said, they leave. And they get on the road, and she is just looking around like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. And I'm just like, they gave us the love story. They gave us the heartbreak. Now some shit's about to go down, because that's how it always happens. But this is how you do a love story right. And this is how you do it. I don't want to call it a slow burn, because it's not like they were pining over each other for years, but it's kind of like, this is how you tell a story. Like it really had nothing to do with Joel and Ellie, but I still feel like it was important to the message of the show, which, has been save as many people as you can, do what you can, protect the people that are around you, protect the people you care about. And
that there is something to fight for.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He was like, look, he just swooped in one day, accident, and I took a chance, and it was the best chance I ever took. Yeah, I'm gonna stop ripping my heart out. But yeah, I was sitting there watching the episode, and there were moments where I teared up just a little bit. But for me, the fact that I didn't cry during this episode, I was like, that's kind of weird, because normally I'm a crier. Don't be messing with her. If she cried, it's good.
See, I was over there like, they got me crying over here.
I didn't. I couldn't, because like I said, I felt like I already knew what was going to happen. And I was just like, I'm not.
Yeah, but it was the words to it. Just the things they said to each other.
It was beautiful.
They got me in my heart.
Episode.
So
it was a beautiful episode.
Shout out to Linda Ronstadt for making several appearances.
The funny thing is, I have several Spotify playlists that I listen to at work and in the car, and one of them is an 80s playlist. So for whatever reason, she was in the rotation a lot this weekend. I am not lying. Especially the song that she did with Aaron Neville. Just I think I heard Don't Know Much.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I think that came on 3 times within the span of 2 hours. I was like, why is this song playing so much? So I don't know. Maybe my Spotify was trying to foreshadow what I was going to hear. But yeah, I love this episode. This is one of those episodes where it's I wish I could watch it for the first time again, because it was really good.
I was just excited to see Anna Torv again, and hopefully we get to keep seeing her all season, even in flashbacks. That would be just great. I love that. I love it.
I'm sure it'll happen like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, oh my God.
But I feel like also, in a way, I like the way that Bill and Frank's story ended.
Mm-hmm.
But also, in a sense, I'm a little disappointed as well, because it's like when Joel and Tess got Ellie and they had to make this track, like we've been hearing about Bill and Frank since the first episode. And especially after last episode, like Tess was like, get her to Bill and Frank, get her to Bill and Frank. And it's like, you have these two characters that seem like they were going to be really important, and they were. But the fact that when Joel and Ellie get there, they're already gone. I was like, I felt cheated in a way, especially since I've heard in the video game, like supposedly Bill and Ellie's interaction is a lot of fun in the game. Their dialogue is supposed to be like really clever and really witty. And I was like, I really want to see that, but we didn't get that.
It's okay.
I'm a little upset, but it's okay because, like I said, it was a great episode.
Yes, it was fantastic.
What I'm hoping for is a background story for Tess and Joel. Can we get a flashback for the two of them?
This
how they met, how they became friends.
Ordinary love.
Or
no ordinary love.
You're trying to steal Mike's thunder.
I keep trying.
Y'all will be okay. Y'all will be okay. So yeah, since their story kind of ended with this episode, and we just kind of see Joel and Ellie going off into the sunset, I'm just like, I don't know what to expect now. So we don't know who they're going to see. I mean, we know he's going to look for his brother, but they got a while to go. His brother is in Wyoming. They're still in so, or
that's a drive. I'm like, how y'all going? The hope that so you're expecting them to barter for gas on your way? It's like that's not a guarantee.
Had all the gas from Bill's place. They probably put some gas on the back of that truck.
Okay, enough gas to get from Boston to Wyoming.
I mean, depending on how long it is, how many miles it is. I mean, if he has like drums of gas on that truck, I mean, even in my little car, I can get from here all the way up to like, I don't know, I can get 400 and something miles on my tank of gas. So never know. Well, it's not like that was a really big truck. It wasn't like, that behemoth that Anthony and Michelle own.
Hey, but it has a huge tank, so we would have been able to do that too.
Right. Okay.
Oh, for the record, Baltimore to Boston is 401 miles.
Okay.
So I'm going to assume he drove most of that way and ran out of gas.
Okay.
Because if he had a full tank, he could have done maybe 300, 350 and probably started walking.
Because Wyoming to Boston is 2,130 miles.
Ooh.
Yes, it is.
Like, seriously, you got to catch a flight. This drive is going to take.
It's not a driving thing. It's a 32-hour drive if you're trying to drive straight to it.
Yeah, but what else do they have to do?
Get gas. That's what they're going to have to do once they get to their
encounter people.
Well, yeah, that. But like I said, I feel like Joel would have put at least enough gas. They had some drums. I don't know how. I'm sure they also have provisions going to Wyoming, because remember, if Tommy had been going back and forth between their quarantine zone and Wyoming, then chances are, just like Joel said, he had that stash in that little store. He said, we have
they have stashes along the way.
We have stashes, all over the place, just in case we get caught out here with low supplies or if we need to hide. So I'm sure there's probably gas on the route that he's going to take, or on any alternative route he has to take, because I'm pretty sure, especially if Tommy was with the Fireflies, they don't have one way in and one way out of wherever they're going. I'm sure there are multiple routes that they can take just in case they get hemmed up here, or something happens there. So I'm pretty sure
we'd have to fill up 4 times in the behemoth to get from Boston to Wyoming. Yeah, just four full tanks, which is probably like 3 barrels.
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing that in their trunk. Now I'm just saying.
I don't remember what it had, but like I said, they could have gas already, on their way.
They probably have. There's probably people that they know on the way. Like between
Fireflies, I mean, think about it.
not just Fireflies, but people like Bill and Frank
Mhm.
that are holed up in different places, communities.
Yeah, they probably, I'm sure they have some kind of
along the
network
way.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can. I mean, you can't count on a lot of people to help you out because they're all probably paranoid as fuck too.
But I mean, if
you have established
network
relationships.
if they network the way that Tess and Joel networked, I mean, again, we talk about the fact that Joel was pretty well connected for somebody who was inside. So I'm sure they have a network out there of people that they can trust.
Yeah, he's getting narcotics from Atlanta.
That's true.
Right.
So there's obviously a network all the way down to Atlanta to get it out there. So
yeah. So I don't know what to expect for the rest of this the episodes. And I like being this, ignorant. I like it. I like not knowing.
It's funny how the people we know that play the game won't tell us shit. They won't tell us nothing.
That's good because, oh, by the way, I don't know if we mentioned it in the last episode because I don't think the news was announced yet. The Last of Us has been renewed for season 2. We are getting to season 2. And the headline that I saw, I think I was looking at, I can't remember which publication it was, but the online article said, The Last of Us season 2 has been renewed and game players know what's coming next. And I asked Carlos, I was like, what's coming next? What's coming? And I was like, no, I don't want to know. So he walked into my office and he was like, do you want to? No. I
did that for a video we were watching and they just gave us some backstory to the point where we were. And I said, okay, we can cut off now. Let me just wait and find out what happens.
He was like, are you sure?
I
said, yes. I said, and I know you probably know because they have made it, they have made a point of saying that the show will not deviate from the story, from the main story. Like they will have little deviations, like the thing with Bill and Frank, that's something that's different from the game, but they said they will not deviate too much from the storyline of the game and they will not go past where the game is. So right now, like I said, there's 2 video games for The Last of Us. There's the first one and the second one. From the little bit that I have seen, the second season will probably cover whatever is in the second game. And the only reaction I got from Carlos was like, oh, y'all just need to be prepared. Don't be encouraging me and making me anxious at the same time. Just whatever.
I can't, man. It's like you introduce people, then you kill them. You introduce them, then you kill them. It's like, damn.
I don't like being tugged and pulled in different directions.
You know what? And on that note, that's it for our
show. Playing with my emotions.
You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Fandom Hybrid. You can chat with us on our Discord channel. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.